Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be building this portfolio project using CSS, HTML and JavaScript. Okay, so this project has multiple sections. So the first section is the home page. When I refresh, it's going to animate in, and then we have a nice cool half animation as well on the buttons. Okay, so the next section after this is going to be the about section. So the about section has many components. We have the stats section here. We can have these items as well. Okay, and then we have the my skills with nice progress bars, and then we have the timeline. Okay, and then the next one is going to be the portfolio section. So but the portfolio section, when we have this portfolio item, it's going to show some external links. You can click one of these buttons and then you can go to any website that you want to go to. So any of these items you can have and go to any website. Okay, so that's the portfolio section. The next section is the block section. So for the block section, we have a nice half animation as well on the images. Okay, it looks really cool. All right, so that's the block section. You can create as many blocks as you want. Okay, and then the next section is the contact section. So here we have the contact form, and then a nice button and nice icons to go to your socials if you want to. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back to the home page. So I'm going to refresh this page again. As you can see, it's animating. Actually, we also have light mode, so we can navigate this page in light mode as well. As you can see, the color updated from dark to light. Okay, so we can navigate this in light mode, and then the colors look really nice even on light mode. Okay, and then we have the blogs, everything updated depending on the theme, and then the blogs, everything updated as well depending on the theme. Okay, yeah, that's it for this project. I'll see you in the video. Please, if you're new, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you then. I have an images folder here, so there isn't many images. So these are the images that we're going to be using in this project. I'm going to start by creating a new HTML file, index.html, and then I'm going to create a new folder. So this one is going to be storing all of our styles. Inside the styles folder, I'm going to create a new style. So the extension we're going to be using for this one is CSS. So that's the Sass preprocessor. It's much quicker to do styles than normal CSS. So to be able to use Sass, you need to go to the extensions and look for Sass, and then you're going to find the Sass and then install that. And also there's a live compiler, so we don't need to restart every time that we make updates to the code. So we can just compile the code live. Okay, so now you might also want to download HTML and CSS snippets. So if you try HTML, CSS support, just install these two. Okay, I think that's it for now. We just need to go to the styles and let's do basic page resetting. So I'm going to set the margin to 0 because by default the page is going to have a margin, and padding 0, box sizing 0, border box, and then list style to none. Okay, so in the body I'm just going to give it a background color of red just to check out if our styles are working. So we need to compile this Sass file inside the styles folder. So here you're gonna see a button says watch Sass. Click that button. Okay, and then it's gonna generate a style CSS file here. So let's go to the index and generate HTML boilerplate. So to do that, hold Shift and 1 and then click enter. Hold Shift 1, enter. Okay, so I'm going to name this portfolio. Okay, so now I'm just going to link the style CSS file, styles.css. So I'm going to run this with the live server. So you can go to the extensions and look for live server plug extension. Okay, so I'm going to run this now with the live server. There it is. Okay, so that means our styles are working. So I'm going to get rid of the background color of red. I'm going to get rid of that. I am going to actually get some fonts first. Google Fonts. I'm gonna get the font called Poppins. Okay, so you need to select some font weights. So we're going to be using regular 400, 500, 400, 500, the regular ones only, all the way to 800. So once you've done that, you just need to copy the link. Once you've copied, go to the index below the styles and then paste in the font weights. Okay, so I'm also going to copy the font family name and then I'm going to put it in the body. Okay, so now that we've done the fonts, we're going to be able to toggle between dark and light mode. So to do that, we're going to be using some variables, some CSS variables. So to do variables, we're going to type root, and then we're going to put some variables inside the root. Okay, so mainly the variables we're going to do for the colors. Okay, so you can do a variable literally for anything, but for mainly in this video we're going to do colors. So the first one is going to be color primary, and so the color primary is going to be like a dark color 191, and then D2B, I think that's the color. Yeah, okay, so that's the color. I'm going to paste in the rest of the colors because I don't want to waste your time typing the colors one by one. Okay, so these are the variables that we're going to be using. So now for the body, I'm going to give it a background color. So to be able to use the variable, you do var primary. So var primary color, we're going to be utilizing this variable, which is a color, a dark one. Okay, so I'm going to also do a font size, a default font size. It's going to be 1.1 rem. So that's going to be our default font size. Also, I'm going to give a default color. The default color is going to be white. So by default, I want the text to be white. Okay, and then I want also have a transition. So the transition is going to be 0.4 seconds ease in and ease out. Okay, so like that. So now that we've done that, let's go to the index. So in here, I'm going to give the body class of main content. So main content, so that's the body, and then in the body we're going to have a header with a class of section, and then another class name of sec1, section 1, and then another class of header, and then it's going to have another class of active. You're going to see why we're using active. I'll explain later as we go. Press enter. Okay, so now we have the header. And then let's go to a main. In the main, we're going to have section dot section. Section is going to have a class of section, and then dot another class section2, and then another class about. Okay. So now I'm going to click enter. So now we have a section. Okay, so we're going to have 5 more sections. Okay, so we have section2 about. So that's the class name. I'm going to duplicate this 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's going to, all of them are going to contain a class of section, all of them. I'm just going to change this from sec2 to sec3, section 4, and section 5. Okay, you can just change the class names here from about to portfolio. And then the other one, this one is going to be blogs, and then this one is going to be contact. Okay, so that's that. Now we have the sections. Let's start by styling all these sections. Before we add any content, let's work on the functionality to switch between the sections, okay, using the JavaScript. I'm going to introduce you to Font Awesome. I'm going to say Font Awesome CDN, and then look for the Font Awesome CDN, look for the version 5.1, and then copy the link tag, and then go below the Google Fonts, even above, and then just paste in the link. Okay, so now we've pasted the link for Font Awesome. Font Awesome, we can, you know, like sort of get icons from Font Awesome. Font Awesome Instagram. Let's say we want to use the Instagram icon, so we can copy this Instagram icon. Let's see if it's working. I'm just gonna paste it down here. I'm gonna save. Let's see in the preview if it's working or not. Let's see. There it is. So that means it's working. So it's white as well. That's the default color of the website, and the icon is working. So that means Font Awesome is installed successfully. So now let's start by styling the sections. Okay, I'm also going to target all of the links, the anchor tags. I'm gonna say display inline block, and then text decoration to none, and then I'm gonna say I'm going to actually give it what's this? I forgot the name. Color is going to be inherit. We're going to inherit the color we have in the body, and then font family is going to be inherit as well. Okay, so now that's that. Let's go start each individual section. So these sections, we're going to be able to switch between the sections because of the positioning they're going to have. They're going to have a position of absolute. So each section is going to have a minimum height of 100 VH. Okay, so that's the minimum height, and then a width of 100%. And then we're going to do position of absolute, and then we're going to do left 0, top to 0 as well, top 0, and then we're going to do padding. So padding is spacing. So top and bottom, the spacing between top and bottom is going to be 3 rem, and then 18 rem left and right. Okay, so each and every section is going to have these styles. Okay, and actually we need to also do the header. So the header is going to have a fixed height of 100 VH. So the height for the header is going to be fixed. Okay, and then we're going to do a color. The color for that is going to be white color. White for the color white. I don't know why I didn't autocomplete. And then we're also going to have an overflow of hidden, just in case something overflows. Okay, so now nothing happens. When I inspect this, we have all of those sections that are on top of each other. Okay, because we're using position of absolute, so now they're all laying on top of each other. So to create the effect of switching between these sections, we need a way to hide the rest of the sections and then only display the one that we've clicked on. Okay, we're going to do that later in JavaScript, but now let's keep going. I'm going to target a section class. So this section class I'm going to do, so by default I want it to be away from the screen. I want it to be off screen. Okay, so I'm going to use a transform for that, and then I'm going to translate y minus 100%, because by default I want it to be off screen. Okay, and then I'm also going to do a transition. You can create a variable for this transition actually if you want, because we're going to reuse this a lot of times in this video. So you can, you know, make it easier by creating a variable for that. Okay, so now we have a transition, and also we need a background color. So for this one, it's going to have a var primary color. Okay, so that's the one. So each individual sections, we can style them differently. We can give them a different background color, a different whatever. So I'm going to target section 1, sec1, sec1. So this sec1, you can give it a different background color if you want to, but by default I want it to be none, the display. I don't want to display anything because I want to be able to switch between these sections. Okay, I'm going to do transform as well, translate y, actually it's y, I want to translate y 0 for now, and then we're going to do scale, we're going to do 1. Okay, so now when this section is active, it's gonna come back to the default place. So here we did transform, translate y minus 100%, and scale we did 0 here. So once we come back to the default place, it's gonna, it's gonna make like an animation coming in off screen and scaling all the way to 1. So the scale works from 0 to between 0 and 1. Okay, so we need to do this for the rest of the sections. So I'm just going to paste in some codes for the rest of the sections. So these sections, each individual section, you can give it a different background color. Okay, you can kind of give it a different background color just to see to your liking. Okay, nothing much happens here, nothing much. So now, for now, let's do the buttons which are going to let us control these sections. So these buttons, I'm gonna do dot controls. So make sure controls, I'm pretty sure this is the wrong spelling, but it doesn't matter. So inside the controls, we're going to have the buttons. Okay, so each individual button is going to have a class of control. So I'm going to do dot control. So that's a button. It's going to have a control, and then it's going to have a control 1. So the first one is going to be control 1, the second one control 2, control 3, and so on. So I'm going to say control. So this one is control 1. I'm going to use the $sign. So the $sign, it means increment the numbers automatically depending on how many classes, on how many divs we've created. Okay, so control, and then it's going to have another class of actually it's not going to have any other class. I'm just going to hit enter. Actually, I'm just going to put a class of active btn. So that's the first one, is going to have a class of active button. I'm going to multiply this by 5. Okay, so we don't need active button on the rest of the divs. Okay, so you can like get rid of this. We only want the first one to have active button. So we have control 1, control 2, 3, all the way to 5. Okay, so inside each of these divs, I'm going to put a corresponding icon. So in this case, you can go to Font Awesome, and then you can, for example, search, let's say, home. You can look for an icon that you are looking for, in this case, this one. And then you're just gonna copy this, and then you paste it in, like so. So that's the icon we're looking for. I'm just gonna paste in this data instead of me doing one by one. Okay, so we are using warm briefcase newspaper envelope open. I'll get rid of this, so I'll explain later. Okay, so now I'm gonna save this. As you can see, we have the icons. There they are. So for us, we want these icons to be here on the right side. So to do that, we're going to be using position of fixed, because we want it to be at a fixed position. Okay, so we're going to target the controls. You can make a comment. You can say controls, and then here you just do dot control. Okay, so this is the parent. So position, we're going to do position of fixed. So that's the parent container, and then z index is going to be 10, because I want it to be always at the top. And then I'm going to do top 50%. Okay, and then right is going to be 3%. So we want it to be aligned to leave a space of 3% from the right. So there they are. So now they're leaving 3% of space from the right side. Okay, so now we're going to do display flex direction column, and then we're also going to, I think we might be able to give them a font size sometime later, but I want to actually center this in the y-axis. So to center this in the y, we can do transform translate y minus 50% to center this in the y. So as I save, as you can see, they have updated. They have now nicely centered. Okay, so we've kind of centered. I'm going to do align items to center, and then justify content to center as well. Okay, so I'm going to target the control class, control class. So for the control class, I'm going to give it a padding, so it's like spacing around it. So the spacing is going to be 1 rem, and then a cursor is going to be pointer, cursor pointer, and then I'm going to give it a background color. Background color is going to be var, so it's going to be gray 4, so it's going to be gray 4, so that's the background color. So width and height is going to be 55 pixels because I want it to be rounded. So width and height has to be the same if you want to make something rounded. So the border radius is going to be 50% to make them rounded. Okay, so as you can see now they are rounded, but I want to center these icons. They're not centered nicely. So to do that, we're just going to use flex. It's easy, display flex and align and justify content to center. Okay, so I'm also going to make a spacing between these icons. So this spacing that we're going to use is margin. So top and bottom is going to be 0.7 rem, and then 0 left and right. Okay, also we're going to give a box shadow. We might also want to put this box shadow in a variable, to be honest. I'm gonna create a here. I'm gonna say box shadow, I don't know, shadow 1, and then these are the values. So 0 on the x-axis, 3 pixels on the y, 15 pixels for the blur, and then the opacity 0.3. Okay, so this is the box shadow that we're going to be using. I'm just gonna do a var, and then I'm just gonna paste in the variable, just in case we don't like redo this box shadow, because we're going to be reusing this box shadow a lot in this video. Okay, so there they are. They're showing nicely. So I want to also resize this icon, the icon size. So to do that, I'm gonna target the eye, which is the eye inside the icon. If you don't already know about Sass, we can nest in the elements. Okay, so we can nest some HTML elements. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm gonna say font size. I'm gonna put this to 1.2 rem. I want it to be slightly bigger, and then I'm gonna also give it a color and pointer events of none. So pointer events, it means I don't want to when I click, I don't want it to do anything. It doesn't react to the click or to the mouse, whatever. Okay, so now let's save. Everything looks nice. Everything looks on point. Okay, so now I'm going to, so if you remember here, I've given this a class of active button. So the whatever button, I want this active class to be applied to whatever element that I've clicked on, and also at the same time remove other elements with that class. Okay, so when I click this, I want only this button to have that class active button, and then remove the remaining active buttons class names. So that feature is a little bit tricky for for beginners, but it's actually easy to do. So what we're going to do now, actually I'm going to style the active button first. So whatever active button, so in here above the control, I'm gonna say dot active button. I'm gonna style that, so it's just giving it a background color and a transition. Okay, like so. Background color is going to be the secondary color, which is the green color, and then I'm going to target the icon inside it, the eye. So I'm gonna just target the icon and give it a color of white. Okay, so there it is. So that's the active button. It seems like everything is nicely centered now. Yeah, so now the active button is going to be green. Okay, so now that the active button is green, we just need to go to the JavaScript and let's create a new JavaScript file actually. So let's do new file. It's going to be app.js. So this app.js, I'm going to select some HTML elements. So I'm going to select all items, all elements using the section class. So const sections document.query selector, all everything that has a class of section. So as remember, we've given all of these sections a class of section, so it means I'm selecting everything with a class of section. So I'm targeting this. I'm also going to select the section buttons. So the section buttons is the parent container of these buttons. So the controls, so these are the section buttons, so it's like the parent. I'm selecting this parent container, and then inside I'm going to also select each individual button with a class of control. Okay, so I'm just gonna, okay, so there is a section button controls. So this is the parent, this is the actual button. I'm also going to select the body as a class of main content. So there is the body main content, that's the class. Okay, so in here I'm just going to create a new function. I'm gonna use the actual function create a new function, and then I'm gonna say page transitions. Maybe you can name this function whatever you want, it's up to you really. So now I'm going to comment here. I'm gonna say button click active class. Okay, so what do I want to happen when I click the button? So this, I want to be able to get rid of the class that is not active, only the active class. That's what I want to have the class on. So we're going to do a loop. We're going to do for. So we're going to do we're going to create a new variable, so let I. Okay, so it's going to be initially set to 0, and then we're going to say I is less than, as long as I is less than is less than the length of the button. Okay, the section btn. So section btn is this one. Okay, so as long as I is less than that, we're going to increment. All right, so now that's that. So in here I'm going to say sect button. So the sect button is I'm going to look for the index, the I, okay, whatever index we're on, and then I'm going to say it's goes to, actually I'm going to add an event listener to whatever index we've clicked on. So this I is the index. Okay, so I'm gonna say dot add event listener. So the event listener is gonna take two. The first one is gonna be click, and then the second one is gonna be a callback function. So what am I doing? This one is gonna be a callback function. So in this callback function, okay, so in this call I'm going to select the current button. Whatever button we've clicked on, the current button we're on, current btn, and then I'm going to say it's goes to document. So we're going to do query selector with a class of active button. Okay, so if you remember, the buttons are going to have a class of active btn. Okay, so I'm selecting that. It's with the name of current button. So I'm gonna say current button, the first one with an index of 0. I'm gonna say dot class name. Then I'm gonna say current btn index 0. And then I'm gonna do class name. I'm going to not list class name, and then I'm going to replace that with an empty string. Once we're out of once it's not active btn, and then we're going to replace with an empty string. Okay, so whatever button we've clicked on, when we're not clicking it anymore, we're going to get rid of the class and replace with the empty string. So here I'm going to do this dot class name. So this is referring to this function. Okay, so this is like a confusing topic to learn about this keyword in JavaScript. It's kind of weird. And then I'm going to do plus equal to active button, active btn. Okay, like that. So now when I save, we need to call this function page transitions. So let's call the function. Let's go, actually we also need to link this JavaScript file. We're going to do script, and then we're going to do source, and then app.js, and then let's save save everything, and then go to the page, inspect, and then when we click this button, hopefully a class should appear on whatever button we've clicked on, and then it's going to get rid of this active button here. Okay, that's a start. We have an error, but we're going to, so it didn't work. So when I click, the class is off, but it's not working. Let me inspect what's going on. Cannot read properties of an undefined class name. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's this one, this keyword. Class name dot replace. Okay, something is wrong. Class list. Oh, this is not class, it's supposed to be class name, not list. Okay, so let's save this. Hopefully it should work. Click. Nothing happens. We have an error again. Undefined. That's weird. Current btn, class name. Replace active btn. So we just need to make sure. Let me double check, maybe just double check to see if the namings are correct. I'm just gonna copy and paste and replace everything. Query select. Oh, actually, but I think the naming is correct. Okay, let's try to figure out what's going on. Undefined. Ah, current button. Active button. Okay, the class naming is correct. Document query selector all. I don't get what's undefined here. I just realized something. I didn't find the error, but I'm not supposed to use an arrow function here. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to use a regular function. I'm gonna do function like that instead of because this keyword doesn't exist in an arrow function. Okay, so it only exists on the regular function. Oops, what did I click? Okay, so let me just double check if I'm recording. Only right after I stopped the video, that's when I realized that I've used the arrow function. Okay, so when I go to console, okay, everything works fine. So now it's it's working as expected. Only so don't use arrow functions for the if you want to use this keyword. It doesn't exist in arrow functions. Okay. So now let's move on to the next step. So for the next stage, let's start actually doing the content, but to be able to do that, we need to be able to cycle between the sections. Okay, so now we've done the active class for the button. So now we need to do the content. So each button is going to have something called a data ID, and then this data ID, so when I click the button, it's going to look for a section with this ID. So in this case, it's going to look for the about section with an ID of about, portfolio, about, portfolios, blogs, and contact. So make sure you add the data ID next to the class, after the class. And then here I'm going to also add a data ID. So this one is going to be the header. So this one is going to look for the header. Actually, we can do main or home. It's up to you. Home. Okay, so I'm gonna give the IDs. So do ID. So this one is going to be home. So give the corresponding ID. Make sure this ID matches the data ID here. So for the home, the first button is going to be home. The second one is about. So this section, about section, I'm going to do ID. So this one is going to be about, and then this third one, ID, portfolio, and then ID. This one is going to be blogs, and then finally we have contact, ID, contact. Okay, so these IDs are going to help us navigate through these sections. Okay, so now that we have those IDs, we've done these sections. Let me inspect the sections. They're there, but they're right on top of each other. If I go main, these sections, they're there. Actually, we need to style these with different background colors. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna give them different background color, slate blue, so you can see the difference. But we don't see them yet because there's scale is 0, and actually translate is minus 100%, so they're off screen, and the scale is 0 as well, so you don't see them yet. So we just need to do a little bit of JavaScript so we'll be able to see them later on. Alright, it's just for you to see these sections. Okay, I'm going to save this so we don't see these sections. So now we just need to do the active class. So when we click each button, it's gonna do an active class. Okay, so the active class is going to be added to the sections. Okay, so here I'm gonna say sections active class. Okay, so we have all sections. We are selecting all of the sections here. So this section is targeting, so the main content here is the body. Okay, so the body, that's all of the sections. It's like a parent of all of the sections. So I'm gonna say all of the sections dot for each. So I'm going to loop over whatever is inside the body. Okay, so in this case all of the sections are inside the body, so it's gonna take in a callback function. I'm gonna say section. Okay, so we have section. Actually, we need to add an event listener. We will loop through later. Add event listener, and then when I click inside, I'm gonna say click. Okay, so yeah, you can do a callback function here, and then we're going to take an event. So the E is for the event. Okay, so I'm just going to say E control log here. I'm gonna say E dot target. Okay, so I'm gonna save. Let's go to the console. Let me just click anyway. So it's not doing anything yet because the sections are outside. Okay, so you won't see it, but now it's targeting whatever element of it's console logging any element that I've clicked on, as you can see, and then it's showing the class or whatever element and the name of whatever element I've clicked on. Okay, so we're just adding event list now to whatever element, but in this case we want to target these buttons here. Okay, so let's get rid of this. So in here I'm going to say const id, and then we're going to say is equals to e dot target dot dataset like this, and then dot id. So the dataset is like referring to whatever I've clicked on, whatever element I've clicked on, the target. We're going to target the data set. So the data set is this one here. We gave a data ID here. So whatever element that I've clicked on, I'm going to target the data set. Whatever element I've clicked on, especially these buttons, I'm going to target the data set for that. So I'm going to take the names of these data sets here. Okay, so that's what this is referring to. So I'm like taking the data set and put it into a variable called ID. Okay, so I'm going to say if ID is equals true, or if we have an ID, whatever, we're going to do, I'm going to first remove selected from the other button. Okay, like that, something like that. So yeah, I'm going to do section buttons, which is the container of the buttons, but I want to loop through each individual button inside. Okay, so to do that, we're just going to do with for each. So each button. So for each button, I'm going to do btn each button the class list, and then I'm going to remove the class of active button. Active button is a different class for the styling of the buttons, but this is a class referring to, so this active class, we're going to use this for the sections, not the active styles like this. So this is a different thing, different class name. Okay, so we're looping through the button, each individual button. If we're not clicking the button, we're just getting rid of the class, and then we're just going to say e.target, and then we're going to say class list. We just want to add the class to whatever button that we've clicked on. So here I'm just gonna do e.target.class list. The e is coming from here, the event. Okay, so we're going to add a class of active. Okay, so now that we've added the class, I'm also going to hide other sections as well as we're doing it. So we've done that already, but like I'm just gonna do that sections. So this we're not seeing the sections yet, but when I click the active button, I want to be able to set the display and the translation back to default. Okay, so I'm gonna do sections. I'm gonna do dot for each section. So if you remember, the sections is coming here from the section. So every section, I'm looping through every section. Okay, so for every section, I'm gonna say section. I'm gonna section the class list. To remove. It's like the same thing that we've done with the button. I'm gonna say active. All right. So that's pretty much it. Actually, down here, I'm just gonna do one more thing. Const element, and then here we're just gonna do document, and then we're going to do dot get element by d, element by id, and then we're going to pass in the id. So whatever id is coming from the data set is going to be inside the element variable. We're saving the id. So remember here we gave the id here, id about portfolio. So whatever element we're on, we're going to pass in the id, and also this data ID is linked to these IDs. So whatever element we're on, and then we're targeting the ID. So now we're just going to say element. You can name, and then we're going to do class list, and then we're also just going to add active. Okay. So now I'm gonna save. Let's see what we have. So let's inspect to see our sections. So home, hopefully it should have an active class header. We've added this manually, but when I click something else, hopefully it should get rid of this and put it somewhere else. When I click, yep, it got rid of the active class from the header. Now this one is active. This about, when I click, this one is active now. It's getting rid of the existing class on other. Okay, so now we can only use the active on one element, but we don't see our sections here. They are there, but we don't see them because they are hidden. We just need to display those sections. So I'm gonna go under section 5. I'm just gonna do dot active. So we're styling the active display block. So we only want to display whatever element is active. Okay. Now let's save. So now the header is active. It has a color of green. It's working. Okay, so everything works. We can cycle through the sections. Okay, but these sections, they're not animating. No, that's not what we want. So down here, I'm just gonna say animation. I'm gonna say scale anim. So that's the name of the animation. The duration is gonna be 1 second, and then we're going to have an ease in and ease out. So I'm gonna do an animation down here. I'm gonna do it keyframes, and then this one is gonna be scale anim. So that's the name of the animation, scale anim. And then I'm gonna do at 0%. What do I want is 0? Transform, translate, translate, transform, transform, translate. What's going on? 0%. Translate y. Okay, so for the y here, it's the same thing we've done before. Scale 0. Okay, so it's only gonna have 2 states: the 10%, 0%, and the 100%. Okay. Whoops. My mouse is broken, by the way. It double clicks when I don't need to. So when I try to do a single click, it double clicks automatically. I need to get a new mouse. Okay, so here it's just resetting the values to back to 0 and the scale back to 1. Okay, let's save this. Hopefully it should work. Now, as you can see, we can scale. Okay, we can scale, but that's not the effect we're looking for. We are looking for scale y. Okay, so we're looking for scale y. Okay, we want to scale everything, so we want only to scale the y-axis. So we want the content to come from, up. As you can see now, we can, do those effects. Okay, that's it for the effects. Now we can scrub through the sections. I'm going to take a break now, and then I'll be back in a bit. I'm just gonna drink some water, and then we'll continue where we left off. Okay, I'm back. So now let's do the header. So let's start with the header, do the content inside the header, and then we'll move on to other sections. So for the header, we're mainly going to have some images and stuff. So here I'm going to do a class header content. So the header content is gonna have a left and a side and a right left header, and then we're gonna have the right header, so the right side. So because we're going to display grid. Okay, so for the left side, there isn't anything here. It's just an image. We're going to do header shape, and then below that, I want to do an image. It's inside image div img hero. That's the image name, and then we go to the right side. So here is just a bunch of text. So we're gonna have h1.name, I'm just gonna paste in the name. Okay, so this span is surrounding the name because I want to color this color, the name, only this bit a different color. That's why I'm surrounding with the span. Okay, so the span also have a class of name. I don't know why I have the same. I'm gonna get rid of the span class name. I'm just gonna surround it like this, like span. Okay, below that we're gonna have a p tag. I'm just gonna paste in some text as well. I'm sorry about the background noise. My mates are playing a video game. I'm gonna do a dot main btn. Okay, so that's an anchor tag. So it's going to have an icon, and it's going to have two spans. The first span is going to have a class of btn text. Okay, so it's just text. The text is gonna say download CV. You can put any text that you want. So this is an anchor tag. It's a link. You can make it go somewhere, or to Google Drive, wherever you're saving your CV or whatever. You can send it there. And then another span is going to have an icon for the download icon coming from Font Awesome. Okay, so now that's it for the header content. We just need to do the styles. I'm gonna get rid of this green color here. So that was just for testing purposes, for you to see, to show you that the sections are working. I'm just gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna get rid of everything. Okay, so now we're left with the default colors. So now let's start doing the header. So for the header content, after the controls, I'm just gonna say header content, and then I'm gonna do another duplicate this. I'm gonna say in the content components. So some components that we might want to reuse, we're gonna put them down here. Okay, so now I'm gonna target header content. So for the header content, we're going to do a display of a grid. We're going to put 2-column grid template columns. We're going to do repeat. We're going to have 2 columns and then 1 FR, so they're all going to be equal. So when I save, so now we have 2 columns. When I inspect this, as you can see, we have 2 columns, 1, 2. Okay, so that's what we want. And then yeah, the height is going to be 100%. We have the height, and then we're going to target the left header. So for that, display flex align items to center. Okay, and then position is going to be relative, because we want to position absolute a shape that's going to be behind our image. So this image, save this, it's going to have a shape behind it. Okay, so that's why we're doing the position relative, the parent container. So the shape, we've named that shape H shape. If you remember, that's the header shape. The shape is going to have a transition that we've been using before. I'm just going to paste in transition, and then a height of 100%, width 65%. Background color is going to be var. It's going to be secondary color. It's going to be the background color, and then position absolute, and then we're going to do left 0, top 0, and then we're going to do z index. I want it to be behind the image of -1 actually. Want it to be behind, and then I'm going to do clip path. So a clip path, I'll show you what it does. I'll just paste in the code now, and then I'll show you. So this is the clip path. These are the values we're using for the clip path. It's like altering this shape. So to do that, we can do clip path generator, and then we can generate kind of a clip path For example, we want this trapezoid, the name is kind of confusing to read, and then we can generate the shape that we're looking for, and then we can just copy this code, and then you can paste it wherever on whatever shape you want to customize. So in this case, these are the values that I'm using, and then after that, after the shape, I'm going to target the image. So for the image, I'm going to give it a border radius. So the border radius is going to be var. I'm going to do md, I can't remember the border radius, small 2. So I'm using the border radius small 2. It's a variable. Okay, I'm going to do width and height. So width is going to be 90%, height 100%, height 90%, width 68%, and then in background color is going to be var. So the background color is going to be black. That's going to be the background color. And then the transition, we want to have a transition as well. We've used this transition multiple times. And then I'm going to target the image. Inside the image container, we have an image, the actual image. Width and height is going to be set to 100%. Okay, and then object fit to cover, so it doesn't stretch out. Object fit to cover. So this image is not going to stretch out. We also want to transition this image again. Copy this transition. We're going to reuse. You can put that in the variable, so you don't have to copy and paste like this. And then want this image to be in a grayscale. So I'm going to say filter grayscale, and then I'm going to put the grayscale to 100%. And then when we have the image and hover, so this is the beauty of Sass. We can nest components, HTML elements, and then we can say filter grayscale 0. Okay, let's save. Let's see what we get. Okay, so when we hover, the image is changing color. All right. Just need to get rid of these. So now, yeah, the image is changing color. So now let's go to the right side. So onto the right side, it's mainly, so we have left header. I'm going to collapse the left header. I'm going to say right header. Okay, so for the right header, I'm going to do display flex. Display flex direction to column, because I want everything to be in a column direction. Okay, and then justify content to center, and then padding right. It's going to put a large value here, 18 rem. I think that works. Name, then font size. So for the name is the main title. I'm going to make it bigger. Okay, and then I'm going to target this span inside it. So there's a span in there. So this span is going to have a color, a different color. This color is going to be a secondary color. var secondary. So var secondary color. So that's the color for that. And then after the name, we have a paragraph. I'm going to give it a margin. Top and bottom is going to be 1.5 rem. And then left and right is going to be 0. And then after that, I'm going to give it a line height. So line height is the spacing of lines of text. So the line height is going to be sort of like something like 2 rem. Then I'm going to save. Let's see what we get. So there it is. Looks nice. We just need to start this button. So to start the button, we're going to reuse this button. So it's an independent component. So I'm going to say dot main btn. Okay. So this main btn actually, I think it's wise to put it into a container. Dot btn container. Like that. Okay, so now we can start styling the main button. Okay, so this button is going to have a lot of styles. Okay, so border radius is going to be 30 pixels. Want it to be nicely rounded, not 20 but 30. Okay, font size we're going to do color, inherit, and then we're going to do font weight. It's going to be 600. I want the text to be thick. Okay, and then I'm going to do position of relative, and then I'm going to give it a border with 1 pixel and the color of secondary. That's the border. I'm going to do display flex and align everything to center. Okay, and then I'm going to say overflow to hidden. Okay, so inside the button we have btn text to btn text, and then I'm just going to give it a padding top and bottom 0, 2 rem left and right. Okay, so in the button we also have dot btn. We have the icon. Okay, btn icon. So if you don't remember the class names, this one, btn icon. Okay, so the btn icon is going to have a color of the green color secondary, and then center everything using flex. Okay, so we've done that over and over, so sometimes I'm just going to have to copy and paste. So to send everything is just display flex, align item center, just for content center. So padding 1 rem, so it's like spacing around. I'm gonna save. Let's see what we got. So there's our button, but it's filling in the entire width because we're using flex on the parent container. So to get rid of this effect, we can do btn container. If you remember, we put in the parent container called btn con. Here, there it is, btn con. We're just gonna do display flex on that, display flex, and then we're going to say align self, I'm pretty sure flex start, yeah, like that. So now we need to hover and bring in something here. When we hover and bring in like a shape that's similar to our button, so we're going to use a pseudo element, a before pseudo element. We'll say end before, and then we're going to say content to an empty string, so we can style this to whatever styles we desire. Position absolute top 0, 0, and then right is going to be 0, right 0, and then we're going to do transform translate x. So we're going to take the shape away from the button. Minus 100% is going to go like to this side, away from the button. Minus 100%. We're also going to do the transition. I'm just going to paste in the transition. And then I'm going to do z index. We want it to be behind the text of the button. Minus 1. Okay. So now, this shape is there, but it doesn't have a width, height, anything defined. So I'm going to say end hover. When I hover the button, I'm going to target the before pseudo element. What do I want to happen? I'm going to put the width and the height 100%, and then the set a background color to the secondary color. Okay, so now when I inspect, let me inspect this. Let's look for the before. It's there. The before pseudo element is there, but remember we are translating on the x-axis minus 100%, so we need to bring it back to the default position, which is 0. Okay, when we hover, and then when we are not hovering, it's going to go back to away from the button. So it's doing a weird, it's doing this effect from the wrong direction. So it's not minus, it's actually 100%, because we're going 100% on the positive value. Minus is going to go negative. Okay, so I meant positive. So it's coming from the right side now. So see, but yeah, there it is. I think we need to add a transition somewhere. in here too. We need a transition here as well. So I'm gonna save. It's gonna, I don't know, it's glitching. Sometimes it glitches. It's not doing it. Before transition. Oh yeah, I think in the hover, that's when we need the transition. Let's see. It's not doing it. If it doesn't, it does. If it doesn't work, it doesn't. Oops, not in the icon. Okay, it doesn't matter. It works. Okay, so now what we need to do is go on to the next section, which is the about section. This about section, it's a it's just, I just say it's too much. So much content there. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to the about. Let me check how long I've been recording. I'm so tired. I've recorded this video like a couple of times, and then I made an error which was too bad. I couldn't even edit out. So now I'm gonna go to the about section. So on to the, I'm gonna collapse the controls. About. So in the about, I'm gonna create a new div called main title. So we want to be able to reuse this title. H2. So this is like a title with a span inside. It's like the main title. So we have about me, and then we have a span covering the me. Okay, so we want to color this differently. So if we're surrounding something with span, it means we're going to style that particular element differently. Okay, so in the independent components, so we finished the button. Now we need to do main title. Alright, so for the main title, it's just text align to center. Text align to center, and then we're going to target the H2, the header, position relative, and then we're going to do text transform uppercase, and then we're going to do font weight, font size first, for rem, font weight is going to be 700, and then that's it for now. Let's target the spans. So for the span, I'm going to do color. It's going to be var. It's going to be a secondary color. Okay, so after that, we're going to target BG text. So the BG text is going to have position of absolute. It's going to be like behind the main text. I'm going to say top 50%, and then we're going to do left 50% as well, and then we're going to do color, a gray color, and then a transition. Okay, I'm just going to paste in. So transition is usual, z index -1. I want it to be behind the text. Okay, and then the font weight 800. So this transform translate -50%, it means we want to center something. Okay, and then the font size is going to be 6.3 rem. Okay, let's save this. Let's see what we got. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so about me, and then here says my stats in the background. Okay, so now we have the main title, the big title. Now let's do dot about content. So it's like a div that's gonna contain everything. About container, and then I'm gonna have a left container, left about, and a right about. Left and right. Okay, so we're going to have an h4 in the paragraph. I'm just going to paste this. So on the left about, okay, that's what we're starting with. h4 and a paragraph. h4 is a heading. Okay, and then I'm going to copy that button again, the button that we've used in the header. Okay, so below the paragraph, I'm going to put that button, the button container main button. Okay, I'm just reusing that button. I'm going to save this. So there it is. So we're reusing this same button over and over again. I think that's good. Okay, so on the right side, right about, I'm going to collapse this button, and then I'm going to collapse this paragraph, and then I'm going to be left with the right about. So in here, I'm just going to say dot about item. Okay, so the about item is going to have a class of dot abt text. Okay, so in here we're just going to have a p dot large text. Okay, I'm going to say maybe 650 or 560 plus projects. Okay, so here I'm just going to paste in another paragraph with the class of small text, and then we're going to the new line br. It means break the line, go to the new line, and then yeah, we're just breaking the text. Okay, so that's it for that. So mainly on the right about, we're just going to have like a grid. Okay, so I'm gonna go in dependent components. I'm gonna say here about. Okay, so in here I'm gonna say about container. So in the about container, I'm gonna do display grid, then grid template columns. I'm gonna say repeat. I'm gonna have 2 columns, 2 and then 1 fr. They're all going to have equal sizes. And then I'm gonna do padding top and padding bottom of. I'm just gonna paste in these, so it's a no-brainer. Padding top 3.5, padding bottom 5 rem. Right about. Okay, so on the right about, it's also going to be a grid. Okay, display grid, then grid template columns. So this one is going to be to have the same thing. Repeat 2 columns 1 fr, like that. And then below that, we're going to do grid gap. So it's like spacing between grid items. Grid gap, we're going to do 2 rem. So that's like the spacing between 2 items. Okay, now let's save. Let's go there. So that's the about item. There it is, the right about item. We just need to keep styling. Okay, so we're gonna do dot about item. I'm gonna give it a border 1 pixel, and a border radius and a transform and a shadow, the ones we've been using before. 1 pixel and the color of gray. Okay, so and hover, when we hover this, I'm just gonna say cursor to default. Okay, and then I'm gonna say transform, translate. I want to translate y minus 50 minus 5 pixels, minus 5 pixels. But I want to hover and then it goes up. So that's the kind of effect I'm looking for. And then the border, I'm going to change the border color from primary to secondary. And then the box shadow, I'm just going to increase the intensity, the opacity. Okay, so from 0.1 to 0.32. Okay, I'm going to save this. Go to the about section. So there it is. So now we have a border surrounding it. When we hover, it turns green. Okay, so below that, below the hover, we're going to do the about text. Okay, so padding 1.5 rem. Now we're going to do this display flex, display to flex, and then we're also going to change the direction to column. Alright, so now we're going to look for large text. So the large text, I'm just going to change the font size to 3 rem, font weight to 700, and then we're also going to change the color to var secondary color. Okay, and then now we're going to target the small text. For the small text, I'm just going to have padding left of 3 rem, and then I'm going to do position of relative, and then text transform. I'm going to do uppercase, so I want the text to be in uppercase, and then I'm going to do font size 1.2 rem, and then the color is going to be gray, and then letter spacing. I want these to be 2 pixels, and then end, I'm going to give it a VsCode element, so it's going to be like a small line. Okay, with the position of absolute, I'm just going to paste in the code for that. So the content empty string, position of absolute, left 0, top 15 pixels, width 2 rem, height 2 pixels. I'm going to save this. Okay, so there it is. So this is the VsCode element, the literal line here. I'm going to inspect this. So there it is. Okay, so this is the grid where we have 2 columns here. So we need 3 more objects here for us to have like 4 items. So you can clone these grid items here. You can about item, you can clone this 3 more times, 1 2 3, save, and then just change the data to whatever data fits your need. So there it is. So now we have more items. For me to change every item here, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna paste in the items that I've changed the data already, so I don't want to waste your time changing the information about these items. I'm just gonna paste in all of the items with data done to them already. Okay, so there they are. I've like sort of already filled in the data. So now let's go to the left side. Okay, so this is the right about, and then I'm going to do dot left about. So left about is just, there isn't much in there, so we're going to do padding right. Padding right is going to be 5 rem, and then we're going to target a p tag, line height. So the line height for this p tag, I'm going to set it to 2 rem as well. And then we're going to do padding top and bottom is going to be 1 rem. And then the color is going to be gray 1. Okay, so like that. And then I'm going to target the h4. It's just putting into uppercase the text, the h4, and then the container of the button. Actually, I don't need to target the container of the button. Just save. Everything should be nice already. There it is. So everything looks nice. The about. So now we just need to add more stuff below here. So we have like progress bars and the timeline stuff. So let's just do that now. So let's go to the HTML. I'm going to collapse the about container. I'm going to collapse that. So now I just want to sort of like add the stats. I'm going to do about stats. Okay, so in here In the about stats, nothing much is going on here. Just in h4 saying my skills, and then I'm gonna create a class called progress bars. It's a div, progress bars, and then another div called progress bar. Okay, so that's another class. In there we have a title called p progress title. Okay, so that's a p progress title. I'm gonna say HTML5 for this one. Okay, and then below that we're gonna have dot progress container. Okay, so in there we're going to have like the progress text, p dot prog text. So this is the text. It's going to be like 80% or 90. It's up to you, whatever width or whatever percentage of your skill. So in this case I'll just say maybe 90%. That's like a p tag, and then below that I'm gonna have a class dot progress. So this is the actual progress bar, and then in there it's gonna have a span, and then the class for this span is gonna be HTML. Okay, so that's that for the. So this is the progress bar item. We can duplicate this many times, as many, depending on how many progress bars you want to do. Okay, so now let's just go to the styles. So about container. After that, I'm just going to say dot about stats. About stats. So here I'm just going to do padding bottom to 4rem because I want a bit of spacing. I'm going to say progress bars. Okay, so I'm just going to do a display grid. We've done that. 2 columns. And then below that, I'm going to target the progress bar. Like that. Here I'm just going to do display, flex direction to column. Okay, I want them to be one after another. So that's why we're using the column. And then I'm going to select the progress title, prog title. Here I'm just going to give it, text transform, text transform to uppercase. So I'm gonna put it into uppercase. Font weight, I'm gonna put it to 500. Okay, so after the progress title, I'm gonna say progress container, the progress con class, display, flex, align items to center. So in there we have a prog text as well. Prog text. So the prog text is gonna have just a gray color. Okay, now let's save and let's see what we have so far. Okay, so there it is. So I want next to this text here to have a progress bar. Okay, so something is missing here. My skills. Okay, no, nothing is missing. We just need to style this h4. Okay, so now we just need to, let me check h4 start title. Okay, so we have a class for start title for the h4. I'm gonna say start title. Okay, it's not there. Okay, we need to style that later. Okay, so now we need to do the progress bar now. So we have the progress text. After that we have the progress. So the actual progress, I'm gonna say width 100%. So for this one, height, it's gonna be 0.4 45 rem. That's for the height. And then the background color, I'm gonna put a position of relative because, oops, save this. All right, let's see what we got. So there it is. So that's our progress bar, but we need something also inside to show the progress, the actual progress. Okay, so that's why we have that span inside that, inside the progress. So the span is going to be responsible for filling in the width. So the span is going to have a position of absolute. That's why we did position of relative here. So left and top is going to be 0, and then the height is going to be 100%. Okay, and then the background color is going to be the secondary color, the green one. But if I set the width here, if I say maybe width 60%, as you can see, it's there. But if I want to create more items here, if I say progress bar, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to save. When I go, as you can see, they all have the same width. I want them to have like different width according to maybe a different programming language or something, a different width. So to do that, we need to give each individual progress bar. I'm gonna redo this, undo. Okay, so you see this span, it is a class of HTML. So whatever language you're doing, give it a class of that, and then after the span, and then you target each individual language and give it a different width according to whatever data you want. So in this case it's 90%. Okay, so now it's going to be it didn't save because I didn't save. Okay, so now it's going to be 90%. As you can see, it's 90. And then when I do another programming language, when I copy the progress bar, so this is the actual progress bar that I need to copy multiple times. I just need to change the class names for the progress span. Okay, so this span, I just need to change the class name and then put it to a different width. So in this case, I'm just going to paste in the stats. Oops. I'm just going to paste in the stats. Okay, so progress bars. So there they are. So now I've done the progress bars off camera. So now we should have like 6 different progress bars. Okay, there they are. But now there's something missing. Look, this progress bars, they have different class names. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy those class names here and give them different width. So here we've done the HTML already. I'm just gonna paste in HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So make sure your width. So I've put 90. So this one should be 90%. Actually, it's 80 for me. I've put HTML to 80, and then the rest of the classes, it's up to you what you decide to do with them. So as you can see, now we have different progress bars. So it's only a matter of giving a different class name to a different progress bar, because we're using a grid. Okay, so each progress bar, you can give it a different class name. You can actually do as many progress bars, as many as you want. You're not limited to 6 because it's a grid, right? So you can do as many as you want. As many as you want. It's up to you. Okay. So now, let's do this title here. What did we name this title? I'm going to collapse the progress bars so we see what we are looking for. So it's called stats. So it's actually stat title. Okay, so this stat title, I want this to be independent. I want it to be outside of this container. I'm just gonna go outside. I'm just gonna do that down here. I want to say text transform to uppercase, and then I'm going to give it a font size of 1.4 rem, and then text align to center, and then I'm going to do padding. Top and bottom is going to be 3.5 rem, 3.5 left and right is going to be 0, and then position of relative, because I want to create a before pseudo element inside it. So I'm going to say before. So you know the drill, before we've done this before. I'm going to say content, set content to an empty string, and then left 50. I'm just going to set some properties here. Left 50%, top 0%. I'm going to give it a background color of gray, and then I'm going to center this on the x-axis. So I'm going to say transform, translate x, and then minus 50% to center this on the x-axis. Okay, now I'm going to go to the... Okay, so now we've title MySQL. Okay, but we need a border. Actually, I think we need a border. So we can give this title maybe a border top or something. I don't know. Yeah, let's do a border. I think that's the better way to do it. Actually, not a border. So this before pseudo element is responsible for that. Content. So we just need to give this a width. Width is there. Position of absolute. Let me inspect to see why it's not showing. Inspect. Before pseudo element. It says it's there. Transform, translate x. Left 50%. I don't know why the width, height, background color. Oh, I think there's something wrong with the background color. Background. Nope, it's not showing still. Okay, content, empty string, position relative. I have no idea why it's not showing. Save everything again. I'm gonna inspect. It's interesting. Let me try to redo the background color. Still is not working. I think I've done something wrong somewhere. And before, so check your naming. Start title. I'm just trying to figure out why the... Let me see if I have this variable. Oh yeah, it's there. Okay, let's do something else. I'll figure out later what's going on, why it's not working. So let's do something else. So now we need to do the timeline. So I wanted to put like a line here on top of the title, but for some reason it's not showing. I'll try to figure out why it's not showing later on. Let's focus on the... So about stats, I'm gonna collapse. So now we need to do the timeline. So for the timeline, I'm just gonna say dot timeline. Okay, so for the timeline, we're just going, it's going to be a grid as well, same stuff we've been doing. So it's going to be a grid, and we're going to have 2 columns of the grid. So we're going to have timeline item. Okay, so it's a grid item, so timeline item. So in the timeline item, I'm going to say dot timeline icon. So we're going to have an icon as well, and then the icon is going to be like a briefcase icon. I'm going to put that. You can go to Font Awesome and look for any icon that you're looking for, and then p.tl timeline duration, and then here you can put like a duration of when you started working for a company and stuff, blah blah blah. And then we're just going to have an h5 with a span inside, and then a paragraph with some random lorem ipsum text. Okay, that's it for the timeline item. That's pretty much it. Okay, we just need to add the title above the timeline. Here we can just say my timeline. Okay, so let's save. Let's see what we got. So there it is. So my timeline. So we just need to, this is a timeline item, to do a grid for this timeline item. Okay, so to do that, we just need to go to the styles main. Here I'm just gonna say timeline. Okay, so dot timeline. I'm gonna say display grid, 2 columns. We've been doing this, so I'm not gonna waste your time rewriting. And then I'm gonna say dot timeline item. So for the timeline item, I'm gonna say position of relative, because I'm going to position absolute the icon. Padding left is going to be 3 rem. Padding left 3 rem, and then a border of 1 pixel. Border left. So I'm going to give it a border left of 1 pixel with the color of gray 5, and then I'm going to target the TL icon, the individual icon, the actual icon. I'm going to say position of absolute, and then I'm going to say left minus 27 pixels. You can play around with this value to find whatever value suits your need. Okay, I'm going to save to show you what I mean. So I'm going to inspect. So this is the TL icon. Okay, I haven't saved yet. Okay, so TL icon. Okay, so now, so there is our icon. Okay, so you can sort of play with this value, with the left value, to see whatever you need. Okay, so the minus 27 was the value that I found to be better. So I'm going to say top 0, and then I'm going to say give it a background color of secondary, and then I want it to be rounded, so width and height must be the same for it to be rounded, and then a border radius of 50% to make sure it's rounded. Okay, so that's why I did width and height as the same. So there it is. So we just want to center this icon using flex. So display flex, align items, and justify content to center the icon. Okay, so and then I just need to target the icon itself, and then give it a font size of 1.3 rem, slightly bigger. Okay, that's it. The icon should be appearing nicely. There it is. So now we just need to style this text and the title. Okay, so after here, I'm just going to say dot TL duration. Okay, so TL duration, I'm going to give it a padding and a color. Padding top and bottom is going to be 0.2 rem, left and right 0.6 rem, and then border radius is going to be 15 pixels, I want it to be rounded, and then display. It's going to be inline block. Okay, and then font size, I want it to be smaller. Font size is going to be 0.8 rem, and then we're going to do text transform uppercase, and then we're just going to change the font weight to 500, something, you know, thicker. Oops. Okay, so now just save everything. So there's our timeline item, I mean. Okay, so we just need to do the title and the paragraph. So after the timeline duration, there is an H5. So the H5 is only mainly styling the padding, text transform, in font size, just the standard stuff. Okay, and then I'm going to target the span inside the, and then I'm going to give it a color and the font weight and the font size, just the standard normal stuff. Okay, after the H5, I'm going to target the paragraph. I'm going to give it a color of gray using our variable color, gray 2. So that's the color for that, gray number 2 for the paragraph. So I'm going to go again. So there it is, everything is nicely styled. So now we just need to duplicate this multiple times and then change the values. So what you need to do, go back and then go to the timeline item. You need to duplicate the actual timeline item, because we've done this display grid on this timeline, 2 columns. So we just need to duplicate to put more grid items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you just need to change in the data to whatever suits your need. Okay, so in this case, I'm also going to paste in some values again, because I don't want to waste your time me changing these values again and again. So you can put it to whatever values that you want. Okay, so there it is. So for me, I've changed all of the data. I just made it random, so for it to look something, you know, somewhat random. Okay, so for the line, we'll come back and do that later, because I don't know why it's not showing. Yeah, I think I'll take a break for now. I'll see you in the next section. So now it's time to work on the portfolios page. So this one is going to be super quick and easy. So it's just like a grid. So let's go to the portfolio section. Okay, so in this section, we're going to put some grid items. So mainly we're going to put the title. We're reusing the title that we've created already. And then just change the name to my portfolio. Just copy the title from where we've done it before, and then yeah, put it there. So my portfolio, put the title, and then when I go to the portfolio page, you can see the title of my portfolio. There it is. So now let's do the content. So for the, I'm going to have a paragraph here, P, with the class of portfolio text. Just put some text in the paragraph, like random text. Okay, in this case, I'm just going to put some random text. So I'm going to say dot portfolios, something like that. And then here I'm going to say dot portfolio item. So in the portfolio item, we're going to have an image, dot image, and then img image portfolio 1. So we have portfolio all the way to 7, the images. And then below that, we're going to have, below the image, we're going to have dot hover items. So when I have the portfolio item, I want to display the links where you can download the project if you want, if a user wants to. Okay, so I'm gonna have an H3 in there. I'm gonna say project source. So the source of the project, like the source code or something, maybe your GitHub links. Okay, below that I'm going to have a class with icons of icons. So here I'm going to have an anchor tag, a link. So each link is going to lead to whatever website you want to. So for example, if I say www.google.com, and then I'm going to say target, I'm going to put the target to blank. So it means open a new page. So if the target is equals to blank, it's going to open a new page. And then in there, I'm just going to add an icon. Okay, so you can put as many icons as you want. So in this case, I'm going to do GitHub. I'm going to do GitHub, YouTube. Okay, GitHub, YouTube, and GitHub, YouTube, Behance. That's the icons I'm going to be using. So now we have one grid item. So we need like 6 grid items or more, whatever. It depends. It's up to you. So we're going to have like a grid with 3 columns, because we want to have 3 grid items per row. Okay, so let's go to the styles. I'm going to say portfolios. So that's marking my where I'm going to start doing the portfolios. So I'm going to say dot portfolio text, portfolio text. I'm going to give it a padding top and bottom is going to be to rem, left and right 0, and then text align is going to be to center. And then after that, I'm going to target the portfolios, the container, and then I'm going to do a display grid. We've been doing this for ages. Grid template columns, and then we're going to do repeat, and then we're going to have 3 and 1 FR. Okay, so we're going to have 3 columns, and then grid gap, spacing between grid items. So it's going to be 2 rem as usual. And then I'm going to target the margin top. I'm going to give it a margin top of 3 rem, and then I'm going to do dot portfolio item, the actual individual item. Portfolio item, I'm going to do position of relative, and then I'm going to target the image inside the portfolio item. I'm going to give it a width of 100%, okay, and height of 300 pixels. And then I'm going to do object fit to cover, and then border radius is going to be 15 pixels. Okay. And then below that, below the image, I'm going to say dot hover items, okay. So width, actually before I do that, I'll just save. Okay, so there it is. So it's looking nice. So it's looking nice. So the image, we just need to keep going. The border radius, for some reason it didn't apply. Border radius 15 pixels. We also need to put, I think we need to put this also on the item itself. I believe. Nope, it's not working. Let me inspect this. Border radius doesn't seem to be working. Border radius. Okay, we'll fix it later. So now on the hover items, portfolio item, let me just double check the class name. So make sure the class names, okay, that's okay. Hover items, width 100%, height 100%. The background color is going to be the primary, and then the position is going to be absolute. So when we hover okay, so it's not showing yet. Okay, border radius 50% as well. Border radius 15 pixels. Okay, so they have items position relative. Let me just double check. Inspect. Oh, it's have items. Have what is it? Like that. Okay, so there is our have item. That's this is this green color here. So we want to center all of this content here on the center. So you already know how to do this. We're going to use flex align items to center and flex direction to column. Okay, like so. And then let's see what we got. It's loading. It's compiling the styles. Sometimes it does this. Okay, so there is all of the items are aligned. So now we just need to style the individual icons. Okay, so to do that, I'm gonna start with an h3, the heading inside there. I'm just going to increase the font size and give it a color and a margin. So the font size is going to be 1.5 rem and a margin bottom of 1.5 rem. Okay, and then after the h3, I'm going to target the icons. I'm going to say I'm going to align the items as well. Display flex to center, and then the icon, the individual icon, I want to give it a background color of the primary. So width and height has to be same for us to round, to make sure it's rounded. Border radius 50%. Width and height must be the same. So whatever width and height you put, make sure it's the same for us to make sure the icons are nicely rounded. So for example, like this, the icons are rounded. So we just need to center this in the middle with flex. Okay, so you already know how to do that. And then we're going to give it a margin left and right for us to space them. And then cursor is going to be pointer, and then we're going to do a transition. That's it for that. Okay, so there it is. So on hover, we might want to actually, I want to change the font size of these icons. So I'm going to target the eye. So you can inside the icon, I'm going to target the eye, change the font size and the color to white, and then give it a margin left and right of 1, like so. Okay, so when we hover this icon, I'm going to say end hover. What do we want to happen? On hover, I just want to change the background color of the icon and the actual icon eye tag. Okay, so it's just changing the color. So let's see. Okay, so now it's changing the color. So I don't want to display this by default. Okay, I want to only display this when I hover this grid item. So in here, I'm going to get rid of it. So to get rid of it, I'm going to say go up the h3. I'm gonna give opacity of 0. It means I'm like hiding, but it's still there. I'm hiding the visibility. Opacity of 0, and then I'm also going to do scale 0. Transform scale 0. Okay, and then let's do also a transition, the one we've been using. Okay, so I want to, on hover a grid item, I want to return this to default values, opacity and the scale. Okay, so to do that, I'm just gonna scroll down. I'm just gonna say up here outside, I'm just gonna say portfolio item. Okay, and hover. So when I hover, the portfolio item is the grid item, and then I'm gonna say dot hover items. I want them to opacity, I'm gonna set that to 1, scale also to 1. Okay, so let's see what we got. Okay, so when I hover, it's showing, but I just need to fix this image thing, the image problem. I don't know why it's not working for the let me just inspect the image. Width 100%. Height 300 pixels. Okay, so that's the parent of the image, and then the image itself, I'm gonna set the image itself height to 100%. Something fishy is going on. If you don't set the height, object fit, oh, it's contain, it's supposed to be cover. It's my fault. I'm gonna say for contain object fit is supposed to be cover, so it's gonna cover the whole grid item. Alright, so now it's covering the whole grid item, so everything works as expected. So now what we need to do is just duplicate these portfolio items. Okay, we can duplicate them by, you can also actually animate the rotate, but I'm not going to do that in this video. So let's go to the HTML. So we've done display grid. We're displaying three columns. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to duplicate and change the values. So we have the portfolio images. So the image you can change from portfolio 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, or you can use your own images if you want. So you just need to change around the values. Okay, so portfolio item, I'm gonna collapse portfolio item, and then I'm just going to duplicate this multiple times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as many times as you want. Save, and then go back. We should hopefully have more portfolios, and then you just need to change around these images as well. Okay, so yeah, I will leave the rest up to you. Portfolio item. Okay, I'm just undoing this. Portfolios. Okay, so I've pasted in with the data changed. So I've changed all of the images. So you just need to do the same, as you just need to change to your own images of your liking. So I've changed the images. So now, yeah, let's move to the next section. If you remember this, before pseudo element was not showing, it's because I forgot to do something. I'm gonna inspect. I forgot to do position of absolute on the before pseudo element. So you make sure you do position absolute, and then it will show somewhere down. There it is. So go to the start title, and then the content in here, do position of absolute. So hopefully now the line should show. So now we should have a line. There it is, a line here. Okay, so that's it for the portfolios. Now let's go for the blogs. The blogs is kind of similar to the portfolios because it's a grid as well. It's going to have three columns. Okay, so we just need to also go to the blogs portfolios. I'm going to collapse this. I'm going to go to the blogs. I'm going to say dot blogs content. That's like the main parent container. So in there, I'm going to paste in the title, and then the title, just change it to my blog. So we've created this title before, so it's inside the header. That's where actually it's inside the about section. That's where we first created this title here. So just copy the name main title. We've styled this title already, so you just need to change the text. Okay, so hopefully we should have main title in the blog section. There it is, my blogs. Okay, so we have the main title, so it's like the blog section. So now after the title, I'm just gonna do dot blogs. So in the blogs, I'm going to do the blogs. That's where I'm going to do all of the blogs. So in the blogs, I'm gonna dot blog, each individual blog. So the blog is a grid item. I'm going to be duplicating this multiple times to create multiple grid items. Okay, so the blog, I'm going to have an image, img. I'm gonna say blog 1. Okay, so you can set whatever image you want to use. So after that, I'm gonna do dot blog text, and then in there I'm gonna have an h4. You can put whatever text you desire, anything that you want, and then after that we're going to have a paragraph with random text as well, like that. Okay, that's it for the blog item. We just need to style this. There isn't much to it. We just need to style this, and then we can go to the next section. Okay, so we just need to go to the styles and get started with the blogs. So after portfolios, and then here we're just going to do blogs section. Okay, so here we can do dot blogs. So the blog is going to be a grid display. So that's the parent of each individual blog grid. So in here we're just going to have 3 columns. So the standard stuff we've been doing before, and then each individual blog we're going to have a position of relative, and then background color is going to be gray 5, and we're going to give it a border radius of 5 pixels to make the corners be rounded, you know. And then we're going to give it a box shadow. You can use the variable, or you can use this one. So 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 1 pixel on the Y, 1 pixel on the X, and then 20 pixels for the blur. Okay, and then when we have this blog item, what do we want to happen? So when we have I want the image to sort of pop out of the blog container. I'm actually also going to increase the box shadow. I'll copy this box shadow, paste, and then I'm just going to increase like the opacity of the box shadow from 0.1 to 0.3. And then after that, I'm also going to transform this and then translate Y. I wanted the blog to go up slightly a little bit, so minus 50 pixels. I want it to go up minus 55 pixels, and then I'm going to apply the transition as well, the one we've been using. And then inside that, when we have I'm also going to target the image. So the image filter, I'm going to do grayscale, I'm going to do 0. Okay, and then I'm going to do transform, translate. Actually, scale, we want to scale the image. I want it to be larger, so 1 by 1.1. So the normal scale is 1, so I want it to be slightly larger by 0.1. Okay, so it's like larger by 10%. I don't know, yeah, 10%. Okay, so, and then we're also going to do a box shadow. We're going to do a box shadow for the image. So the main box shadow is on the y-axis, which is 4 pixels. So we want it to show a lot of shadow on the y-axis. Okay, so now let's save. Let's see what we got so far. I'm gonna go to the block section. Oh, seems like there's a glitch somewhere. Yep, there is a glitch. I don't know what happened. Blogs. Let me refresh this. I don't know why it's glitching. Okay, blogs. That's odd. Let me double check the class names. Blogs, blog item, oops, blogs content. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I think I know what's going on. Go back, check the classes ID. So the ID blogs class, oh, this class name is matching our blog class name, so get rid of this class name. We're not going to use it, so get rid of that. I don't know why this class name didn't affect that. Portfolio, I think you can get rid of these class names. We're not gonna use them. Let's see if it's gonna affect anything. Let's save. Yep, nothing affected. Yep, nothing affected here. Okay, yeah, so we didn't use those class names up here, so just get rid of them. I think we're using this about class name, so leave that for now. If it's affecting it, if it's affecting something, it means we're reusing the class. Just get rid of it. Okay, so now no glitches. So there it is. So the image sort of like pops out of the grid item. It's like boom, boom. But we need to make it transition nicely, smoothly. So to do that, let's go back to the styles. So after the hover effect, after we finished with the hover, we need to now style the image outside of the hover. So I'm gonna do image width 100%, and then I'm gonna do height 300 pixels, and then I'm gonna do object fit to cover, and then I'm going to give it like corners on the top right and top left. I'm going to say border radius top border radius top border radius top left. So top left is going to be so for the top left, just give it like 5 pixels, and then we're going to do top right 5 pixels as well. So let's save. Let's see what we have. So there it is. So we have a border top right and left. So there it is. Okay, so now we just need to style to give it a transition, and give the filter. So when we hover the filter, we need to affect the filter now actually. So filter 100%. So here we set that filter to grayscale 0, and then here it's like 100%, and then a transition to make it slow, to transition slowly. Oops. Okay, so it's gonna transition slowly. So it's grayscale. Okay, when we hover, it's going to go to 100%, to go to 0. So by default, the grayscale is 100%. When we hover, the grayscale is going to go to 0, which is the black and white. Okay, so the image sort of like pops out. Okay, so after the image, I'm gonna do dot blog text. So for the blog text, I'm gonna give it a margin top. Actually, margin top. So for the margin top, I'm gonna do -7 pixels. So you can play around with this value. You can try to find any value that you see fit, but for this one, I've found like 7 pixels, -7 pixels, to be a good value. And then I'm gonna do a padding top and bottom. It's gonna be 1.1 rem. Actually, padding not top and bottom, around everything. So I want to blog text to have a padding around of 1.1 rem. Let me show you what I mean. So as you can see here, there's like spacing around the text, so that's the padding 1.1 rem. Okay, so that's that. So now let's I'm just gonna do a border top. Okay, so I'm gonna do border top like this, 8 pixels. Okay, so that's the border. So when I hover, the border gets covered. That's the effect we're looking for. And then there's like a nice shadow. Okay, seems like when I hover, the shadow on the x-axis is too much. I might want to get rid of that. Box shadow x, y, 4 pixels. So on the x, I'm gonna set to 0 on the x-axis. I don't want anything on the x. Okay, seems you didn't make a lot of changes, but you can always reduce the blur, maybe to 15. Okay, so you can reduce the blur to 15. Yeah, I think it looks good. So now let's style the the text. Okay, so now in the blocks text, I'm going to target the H4. I'm just going to change the font and the color. So the font, and then when we hover, I'm going to set the color to green. So it's just color secondary. Okay, like that. And then after the H4, I'm going to target the paragraph. I'm just going to set the color as well, color to gray 2, and then give it a line height, so the spacing of the lines, to rem. And then we're also going to do padding bottom of 1 rem, so just to give it a bit of spacing. So now let's save. Okay, so that's our blog item. It's fully styled. So all we need to do now is just to populate the blog items. Okay, so to do that, we've been doing this forever. So we just need to get this grid item and populate this multiple times to whatever amount of blogs that you are looking for. In this case, I'm just going to populate multiple times and change the values and the images to whatever values that suits your need. So just populate this multiple times and change around the values. Okay, and then I'm just gonna put like my own values. I don't waste your time doing this on screen, so I've done that. Now there it is. So now I have different content for the blogs items. Okay, yeah, that's it for the blogs items. Now let's move on to the contact. So to the contact section, we're going to have 2 sections, left and right, because we're going to do some inputs. Okay, so for the contact section, go down here, and then we're going to do the title as well. We're going to put a title as usual, but first I'm going to do .contact container, and then I'm going to paste in the title. So the title is going to be contact. If you still don't know, we did this title from the beginning in the header, so we're just reusing that title component over and over, just changing the values. Okay, so and then I'm going to do contact content container, contact content container. Okay, so we're going to have left contact, and then we're going to have left and right contact. Left and right contact. Oh, left. This one is right contact. Okay, so let's start with the left contact. Okay, so with the left contact, we're going to have an H4 and a paragraph first. So H4 and the paragraph. So the H4, it says contact me here, and the paragraph, just a random paragraph. Okay, and then below that, we're going to have like another div, code.contact info. So in the contact info, it's going to have some icons, a lot of icons for the contact info. Okay, so here I'm just gonna say .contact item. Okay, and then in there we're going to have an icon, .icon in the contact item, and then we're going to have an actual icon. So in here I need a location icon, and then below the location I'm gonna say location. Okay, I'm gonna save. Let's see what we have. So when I go, it says location. See, there's a location item here, icon. There's a location icon, I mean, before the location text. Okay, so I want to have multiple icons and text next to it. Okay, so to do that, we just need to duplicate the contact item multiple times and change around the icons. Okay, so in this case, actually after the icon, I'm gonna do a paragraph. I'm gonna say London United Kingdom. Okay, so we're still in the contact item, so we just need to duplicate the contact item multiple times, okay, for us to have multiple items. Okay, so I'm just going to paste in some contact items. I don't want to waste your time doing these contact items on screen. So contact item, paste that in multiple times, change the icons, and change the information to whatever you want. So there it is. So these are the icons that I'm using. Okay, so we've done that. So now let's start doing the styles. I'm gonna say contact section. Okay, so let's start doing the contact. So for the contact, we're going to do display flex dot contact content container. Okay, so we're going to do display flex. We want everything to be next to each other, and then padding top 3.5 rem, 3.5 rem. Okay, and then first we're going to target the left content. So that's left contact, actually contact. So for the left contact, I'm gonna do flex 2. I want it to be smaller than the right one. So the right one, I'm gonna set that flex to 1 to make it cover the remaining space. So now it's actually not smaller. It's because I haven't put content on the other one, so that's why it looks weird at the moment. Okay, so you know what, let me put the content first, so for us to see how things are progressing. Let me put all of the content that we need. Okay, so below the contact item here, after the contact info, I'm gonna put another div. So this one is going to be contact icons. So we want to have like some icons that are gonna lead to social media. Okay, so in here I'm gonna say dot contact icon. So this one is contact icons, and then this one is contact icon. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to do an anchor tag that's going to lead us to whatever platform, www.facebook.com. Oh, it depends, wherever you want to go to, just put a link there. Okay, and then here I'm just going to paste in a Facebook link, and then make sure you put the target to blank if you want to open that to a new tab. Target to blank. Okay, so that's the icon for Facebook. I'm gonna paste in the rest of the icons. Okay, so we have Twitter and stuff. Okay, that's it for the left side. So we just need to go to the right side. So the right side is gonna have like a form. I'm gonna say form dot contact form, like that. Okay, so in here we're just going to have some inputs. I'm gonna have a div called input control dot input control. Okay, like that. And then we're going to have two inputs. The first one is input text, and then it's going to be required, and then placeholder. To a placeholder is going to be like your name. Okay, so we're also going to do another input. You know what, we can just duplicate the one that we have, and the other one is going to be email. Your email. Okay, like so. So now we just need to duplicate this input control one more time. Actually, not one more time. Here I'm gonna get rid of email. Here I'm just gonna say enter type subject. I don't know, enter subject, like that. And then I'm just gonna also do input control, and then this one is gonna be text area, and then you can leave the name blank if you want. And then the columns, I'm gonna do 15, and then 8 rows, like so. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We just need the button that we've created before. I'm gonna put it in a class code dot submit btn. I'm just gonna paste in the button that we've created before. So it's called main button. We've done that, created that button before. We've used it multiple times. I'm just gonna save this to see what we have. Okay, so there we go. That's what we got. So now we just need to get started with styling this stuff. So go to the styles. Okay, so left contact, we're gonna do dot right contact. Okay, so right contact, and then for the right I'm gonna say flex 3. So this one flex 2, and then this one is flex 3. So there you go. So this is occupying more space. Okay, flex 3, and then margin left is going to be something like maybe 3 rem. Okay, and then below that I'm going to do dot input control the input control class. Okay, I'm going to do margin for that. Margin top and bottom is going to be 1.5 rem, left and right 0, and then I'm going to target the inputs inside there. Okay, I'm going to do border radius 30 pixels, and then I'm going to do font weight inherit, font size inherit, font family inherit. Okay, and then I'm going to do a padding. Top and bottom is going to be 0.8 rem, left and right is going to be 1.1 rem. You can change these values to put values that you want. Outline is going to be none. Border, I'm going to give it to none as well, border of none. And then we just need to do a background color and a width of 100%, background color and color of white. And then resize, want it to be none, because we don't want the form and the text area to be resized. So I'm gonna put a comma and then text area as well. I want the text area to have these styles as well. I'm gonna save everything. Let's see what we have. So there it is. Okay, but I want this, your name and your email, to be next to each other. Okay, so I want this to be next to each other. So to do that, I am going to give the input control, this one, another class called input control. Actually, I'll just do like this, input control 2. Okay, so input control 2. After the input control, that's where I'm going to style that. I'm going to do display flex. Okay, and then I'm going to say last child, the last input, I'm going to give it a margin left of 1.5 rem. the last child. Okay, let's go and see what we got. There it is. So last child, this one is going to have a margin left of 1.5, so everything looks equal like this. Okay, so we can actually increase this font weight of this text to maybe something like 500 to make it more thicker, or you can leave it like this. It's up to you what you want. Okay, you can also text area, you can say placeholder message here like this, and then you can have like a nice placeholder everywhere if you want, like this. You can do a message here like that. Okay, so that's that. Now the button, we just need to center the button. So to do the button, after the input control, you can do dot submit btn. So it's just display flex, justify content, flex start. Okay, so let's go back. There it is. So our button is showing nicely. So now we just need to do the left side. All right, so let's go ahead and do the left side, which is just styling the text and everything. So the left side, what do we got? We got some contact items. Okay, so we're doing flex 2 for the left, and then I'm going to target the H4. So for the H4 margin top, I'm going to do 1 rem, font size 2 rem, and then I'm going to do text transform to uppercase. Okay, after that I'm going to target the paragraph. I'm going to give it a margin top and bottom 1 rem, line height of 2 rem. We've been redoing this. We should have done that into a global style, but it's okay. Let's keep going. I'm going to do contact info. So in the contact info, we have a contact item dot contact item, if you remember the class names. So we just want to do display flex. We're doing align items to center, justify content, space between, displace them, space between. Let's see what we have. So there it is, the spacing between. Okay, so now we just need to target the paragraph inside the contact item. We're gonna do P, margin top and bottom is going to be 0.3 rem, and then 0 left and right, and then we're going to override the existing one which using the important. Okay, and then we're going to do padding top and bottom. Padding top and bottom is going to be 0, and then left and right, actually padding everything, just padding around everything. We want to reset it to 0, and then we're overriding with the important keyword. Okay, so now everything, we have a 0.3 margin top and bottom, okay, for each item. So there's like a margin top 3.3 rem. Everything looks nice. Now we just need to style the icons. Okay, so after the paragraph, I'm gonna say dot icon. Okay, so for the icon, I'm gonna put them in a grid, display grid, and then grid template columns. I'm putting it in a grid because I want restart this. Oh, okay, it's not showing. Why? Because I've used the grid already. So I'm just gonna show you why. Grid template columns, I'm gonna say 40 pixels for the first column, and then 1 FR for the second column, which is where the text is. 40 pixels for the icon. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back. So the reason I did a grid is because I wanted these text items to be in line with one another. So if it's a grid, it's going to make sure they are aligned. So when I inspect this, so as you can see, this one is a grid item. Okay, so each grid item, item is going to have the first column of the grid is going to be 40 pixels, no matter what of these grid items. Each one is going to have a column, the first one of 40 pixels. So hence they're going to have equal spaces, and they're going to be on the same line like that. So you get the idea. And then in icon, I'm going to target the icon inside there. I'm going to say display flex, and then align items to center, and then I'm going to do font size. The font size, I'm going to change that to something like 1.3 rem. Okay, so there it is. So now the icons are much bigger. So now we just need to do these icons here, and then we're done for the contact page. Okay, so write content, contact info. So contact info. After the contact info, we need to do the contact icon dot contact icon. So if you forgot to know what that is, it's the contact icon. Where is it? It's somewhere down here. So it's this container here, contact icon container here. So that's what we're doing now. Okay, so now we're doing this container contact icon. So we're going to do display flex, and then I'm going to do margin top. So for margin top, is going to be sort of like 2 rem, and then we're going to target the anchor tag in there, which is going to take us to external websites. We're just going to do display flex and give it a color and center everything. We've been doing that with flex, and then to make sure it's rounded, we've been doing this width and height must be the same, and border radius to 50%. Okay, so I'm gonna do margin top and bottom 0, top and bottom 0.4 rem, left and right. Okay, and then we can do the transition, the one we've been doing. Okay, and then on hover, when we hover this, we just want to change the background color, and also for the icon as well, we just want to change the color to the primary color. Okay, and then after the hover, just in general, not in the hover, we want to start the icon. We're going to do display flex, align items center, justify content center, font size 1.3 rem. All right, so now there it is. So now we have a nice hover animation. Yeah, that's this concludes our website. Now we just need to work on the dark theme, light and dark mode, and then we're done. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go to the HTML, and I'm just gonna put like an after the controls, I'm gonna do dot. I'm gonna say theme btn. Here I'm just gonna put like an icon for the to toggle the dark mode, light and dark mode. Okay, so theme btn. So I just need to style that, and then we're done. We just need to style the theme btn. Okay, so controls. Okay, so after the controls, I'm gonna do dot theme btn. So here I'm gonna do padding 1 rem, and then cursor to pointer, and then a background width and height must be the same for us to make them rounded. So I want the button to be rounded. Okay, like that. And then display flex, want to send everything with flex, so you know what that is already. And then margin, top and bottom is going to be 0.7 rem, and then 0 left and right. I'm also going to paste in the box shadow. You can put this into a variable, so you don't have to do this. And then I'm going to target the eye. It's only changing the font size and the color, and setting the pointer events to none, so we don't click it. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you know what, let's see what we have. Oh, it doesn't exist because I've been copying the wrong styles. Sorry, it's my fault. I've been looking at the wrong element. I'm gonna do top 5%, right 3%, and then I'm gonna do width 70 pixels, same as the height. So we want to make sure this is rounded. Height okay, and then we're going to do border radius 50%, so it's going to be rounded. And then I'm going to set the background color and give it a position of fixed, and then center with flex. Okay, like that. So cursor pointer, position of fixed. So now it's going to be here at the top right. Okay, so we want to give it a box shadow as well, like what we did in the text transform. Okay, so there it is. So I'm going to do when active. So when I click, what do I want to happen when I click the button? So I'm going to do transform, and then I'm going to translate on the Y. So I'm going to do like -5 pixels, and then the is should be 0.1 second. Make sure it's very low, not high. So if you put the value too high, you will not see the effect. So for example, let me say 0.6 pixels, not 6 pixels seconds, 0.6 seconds. When I click, you won't see the effect, but when I hold, it takes like it takes a lot of time to do the effect. You have to hold, but I want the effect to be like quick when I click. So that's why I'm using 0.1 second to make sure like you can see the effect on click. So when I click, as you can see, like the button is like moving. Or you can reduce this width, not the width, I mean the height of translation to -3. So when you click, it's like, you know, translating. Okay, so that's that. So now we just need to do the icon. So the icon is just changing the font size and the color and setting the pointer events to none. Okay, so there it is. So now we just need to work on the toggle. So it's going to be really quick. We just need to go to JavaScript. After the sections active, we can say toggle theme, and then here we're going to say const theme btn is equals to document dot query selector, and then here we're going to do dot theme btn. That's the class name we've given to. So here I'm going to say theme button. I'm going to add an event listener. Add event listener, and then it's going to listen for a click, and then it's going to take in a callback function. Don't worry, you can do an arrow function now because we're not using the this keyword. Then I'm going to say let element, and then I'm going to say document. The element is going to be document.body, the body. Okay, document.body, and then here I'm just going to toggle the class element, which is the body, dot class list dot toggle on click. Okay, so we're just toggling on click. I'm just going to put a class called light mode. Okay, so when I click that, it's going to toggle this class on and off, on and off, on and off. So now let me save. So let me inspect this. So let's watch out for the body element. So body here. So we were like selecting the body element in the JavaScript. So now when I click this, it's toggling the class light. It's adding the class and removing the class, adding and removing the class. Okay, so now we just need to set the light mode class. So for the light mode, I'm gonna go all the way up. I'm gonna do light mode. That's the class name we're toggling. I'm gonna copy all of these colors here. Okay, and then I'm gonna paste them down here. Okay, so for the light mode, you just need to exchange the colors you've used. For example, for the background, I've used the this dark color here. So don't change the variable name, just need to change the property. So I'm gonna change it from the black color, oops, to the white color. Okay, like that, and then save. Then when I click, the background is going to change to white. Okay, it's on this light mode class. Okay, so you just need to change the values of the variables to different stuff, just mix them around. Okay, so for me, I'm using white as the main background, and then for the secondary, I'm using a different color, which is like sort of a pink color. Okay, for the secondary. So when I toggle the light, it's going to change to this one, pink color. Okay, every secondary color is going to change to this pink color. Okay, so let's keep going. I also need to change the text color, which is white. So for white, I think I'm using some gray number white. I'm gonna paste this. For white, I'm actually using gray 4. So gray 4, that's where you're gonna put white. Okay, so this is gray 4 now. So it's just the variable name is still being used, but you just need to change the value of it. Okay. Let me see if we need to change anything else. Okay, so let me go to other components. Okay, so yeah, we might need to change some colors. You know, instead of me going this changing the colors one by one, I'm just gonna copy paste the colors that I found worked for me. You can change these colors to whatever you want, so you just need to mix them around. Don't change the variable name, because we've been using these variables for a reason. So we just need to change the value of the variable on a different color mode. Okay, so in this case, so what works for me is this color scheme. I think it really works for me very well. You can, you know, use a different color scheme that you want. It's really up to you, but this one is really perfect for me. Okay, everything works fine. Yeah, I mean, this project is not responsive. I don't have time to make it responsive. This is the only time I had to make the video, but it depends how many people have requested in the comments. If you want to see me doing the responsive stuff, you can let me know in the comments, and then I'll consider making a video about it. We'll see how many people have requested. Yeah, if you have any questions or anything, don't forget to ask me in the comments, or you can send me an email. Yeah, that's it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you on the next one.